I spent a lot of time building a website, but I didn't have a plan for what I was going to do with that website. I spent a lot of time creating a logo, but like you don't need a logo to sign clients and do services for people, right? And so I felt like I used and wasted a lot of time in kind of the dream and the idea of owning a business where it's like what would have been more effective is just having a one page, basically a landing page that explains a little bit about who I am, what I do.
This is Right Media Group Chronicles, your shortcut to sharper ideas, smarter moves, and creative breakthroughs. Let's roll.
Welcome to today's episode. For those of you just joining the podcast, we are Right Media Group and specialize in helping marketing agencies scale their revenue. So if you want to learn how to take your agency business to the next level, make sure to stick around. And if you're interested in a free growth consultation, just drop us the word growth in the DMs.
My name is Kyle Rutledge. I'm the founder and CEO of Gradari. We are a lead generation paid ads agency. Anybody on the services side, we don't do anything with e-commerce, and we just focus on the paid advertising side of the house. No SEO, no website development, things like that.
So obviously you mentioned there are certain services you provide and certain that you do not. Do you have any partnerships or referrals that you could potentially give to other clients who are looking at specifically those type of services?
Yeah, actually, there's a pretty fantastic network of small agency owners that I've networked within. I'm in Utah in the United States, and so there's actually a great community of marketers and actually a ton of marketing talent in Utah. And so there's some Slack groups that I'm a part of, and so if anybody has a need for a website or email services or SEO, I have great recommendations if anybody has the need for that.
So initially you didn't plan to start an agency, kind of agency wanted you to start it, if I might say so. So how did Gradari actually begin?
Yeah, great question.
Mm.
I'll try and keep this brief. It can be a very extensive story,
Yeah.
but originally Gradari started as what was to be a holding company for a potential acquisition. I wanted to get into business ownership. That had been a dream of mine, actually, from working in an agency. Multiple of my clients had been acquired and they had these great exits. And then they were celebrating, hopped on a call with me, told me the good news, and we're celebrating together. Then I realized, shoot, they're going to cancel with me. The private equity firm is going to, come in and cut the contract, and I'm going to be out a client. I'm going to have that negative retention. And so that happened 5 times in a pretty short period of time. And I was like, man, I want to be closer in on the action here. I want to have a piece of the equity. And so anyways, that's kind of what Gradari started as. It was going to be a holding company for a business that I acquired. Fast forward a few months, a year, and I had actually taken an opportunity with a small tech startup. And so I took that job and I had some equity in the business. There was a 1-year cliff, so I didn't get any of that equity until the 1-year mark. And unfortunately, before I hit that mark, I ended up being part of a layoff. So as they're going through their Series A, their investors were coming in and had a pretty strong opinion on how the business should be structured. And so I ended up being laid off as a part of that. And Gradari was honestly kind of an accident. Once I had that layoff happen, I posted on LinkedIn and I was like, hey, I'm trying to figure out what to do next. This acquisition stuff, I had been saving money for that. But because I was going to be at that startup for, in my mind, 5 to 10 years, we had just invested all that money. And so didn't have that cash on hand anymore. And then, posted on LinkedIn, hey, I'm trying to figure out what to do. As I figure this out, I'm taking on some clients. And within the 30 days that I had a severance, by the time that severance ran out, I had to replace my income with client work. And so that's basically how Gradari started. And then over the next 3 months, I had to make the decision, do I keep going with what has started, or do I take some of these opportunities that presented themselves to me?
It's basically like a higher call, like you wasn't initially looking to start an agency, but yeah, I love that story. It's incredible. And where do you see? I mean, I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit. Where do you see Gradari in the future? Then what is your future goals?
Yeah, so Gradari, I want to keep it pretty focused. I want to keep it focused on the advertising side of the house, on lead generation. And right now we only really do fulfillment for the ads portion of that. But there are so many other variables that go into having a successful lead generation advertising branch of your marketing department, right? It's the lead follow-up, it's the conversion rate optimization, it's the email nurture sequences. It's like there's honestly a lot of CRM management. And so I do want to keep it pretty focused on lead generation in the advertising branch of the marketing department, but we can expand into all of those portions of it. And eventually it'll be a service where it's like, hey, you want to, maybe you're doing organic, maybe you're doing, cold outreach or something along those lines, but you want to add on this whole new marketing channel. We'll manage it all for you, start to finish. Yeah, Gradari came from basically, I wanted it to be reflective of who I am because, again, originally it wasn't meant to be a marketing agency. It was meant to just be a holding company for businesses that I would own and acquire and own a portfolio of businesses. So I wanted it to be representative of who I am. And who am I? I love growth. I love learning, and I love growing personally and professionally in all different aspects of my life. And that's what Gradari, the name, comes from. It comes from the Latin word gradus, which means to take a step forward. It literally means to take a step up a grade. That's where the word graduate comes from as well, right? So if you think about it, it's symbolic of movement, progression, constantly becoming better as an individual. There's a Japanese word kaizen, which has a very similar meaning. And actually, like in my marketing program at BYU, in the marketing association that I was a part of, we had our Kaizen meetings, which is we're going to come together and we're going to learn and we're going to grow together. And so I think I had some inspiration from, my college days of the Japanese Kaizen, but more from the Latin based root of it. I've had a lot of friends and colleagues who have taken a similar path to me after I left the agency, after I was laid off from that role. And some of the things that I tell them is like, don't get caught up in the attraction of having a business. And what I mean by that is like, I spent a lot of time building a website, but I didn't have a plan for what I was going to do with that website. I spent a lot of time creating a logo, but like, you don't need a logo to sign clients and do services for people, right? And so I felt like I used and wasted a lot of time in kind of the dream and the idea of owning a business, where it's like, what would have been more effective? It's just having a one-page, basically a landing page that explains a little bit about who I am, what I do, and that's it. I didn't need a 20-page site, I didn't need, at that point, a logo in those first few months. It would have been much better and much more profitable for me if I had just focused on marketing, sales, and client fulfillment, right? And that's it, right? So sometimes I think we get caught up too much in the,
With the nice to haves.
The nice to haves, exactly. Yeah. Eventually you do want to add those things in, but
But
not
they're not,
essentially.
you wouldn't say they're kind of money generating tasks, are they? They're just like
No.
the nice to haves.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great way to put it. They're just the nice to haves.
So your first client was from the Hermosi portfolio. Can you explain what that was like?
Yeah. So right after I got laid off, one of the people that I ended up reconnecting with, after I posted on LinkedIn, was a friend of mine. His name's Sam Swirsky. So he had worked at acquisition.com and was the LinkedIn organic manager for Alex and Layla Hermosi. So he ran and managed their LinkedIn accounts. Around that similar time, he also had just left acquisition.com, was trying to figure out what's his next move going to be. And so we reconnected, and he ended up getting me connected to the marketing director at acquisition.com. And his responsibility, his name was Tobias Allen. Tobias, he's no longer at acquisition.com, but at the time, his main responsibility was finding and sourcing talent for acquisition.com itself, for the portfolio companies, and that could be freelancers, agencies, employees. And so Sam got Tobias and I connected. Well, I met with Tobias and I guess I impressed him because he pretty quickly wanted me to run ads for one of their portfolio companies, which it turned out to be IBC Global. Alex Ramosi, he just had his book launch for $100 million money models. And in that presentation, he referenced IBC Global as one of his portfolio companies. So now that he's made that connection public, I can actually speak more openly about it and tell people who that is.
Yeah, no, of course, it's some big names over there, and I have to say, as a first client to manage that must have been an incredible experience for you.
Yeah, it's definitely fun. Like I've been a fan of Alex Ramosi for a long time, since before he started writing all these best-selling books and things like that. And that's actually how I got connected with Sam at the beginning because he was at a networking event, actually a LinkedIn networking event, and he was wearing his acquisition.com hat, right? And I just knew the company and I knew that only employees had those hats at that time. And so I knew he was an employee of the company and went up and introduced myself. So
One
yeah,
thing led to another.
one thing led to another. And yeah, it's like, it didn't happen overnight. That was like 3 years ago, 4 years ago that I made that first contact and we just stayed in touch. And then with Tobias, he would go to acquisition.com. They would host these workshops and they'd bring in small businesses and help them scale and grow. They'd give them the same advice that they give to their portfolio companies on how to grow their business. And the idea is that these smaller businesses grow to a point where, acquisition.com in the future can invest into these companies and they want to be a part of the portfolio, right? But anytime that Tobias at these events would find somebody who needed paid ad services, I was on a short list that he'd send to these people. And then
Mhm.
I'd get people reaching out saying, "Hey, Tobias sent me your name. Let's have a conversation." And so I think 4 of my first 7 clients were from acquisition.com, not portfolio companies themselves, but referrals from those events.
Moving on to scope creep, how would you stop scope creep and keep things clear? So what I mean with scope creep is you have these works that you have agreed to do with the client, but then there's a lot of other bits being added on saying, oh, can you also do this and can you also do that? But you already kind of had a payment agreed for this bit. So how do you personally manage that?
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes of all time, and I don't think I got this from anybody. I think it's just something I developed, over my career working in agency life. All frustration is born from unmet expectations, right? All frustration is created from unmet expectations.
Hmm.
This is personal life, this is professional life, this is all areas of life. You probably have an expectation of how this other person is going to behave. If they don't behave that way, my birthday's coming up. I probably have some sort of expectation of how that day is going to go. If that expectation is not met, I'm probably going to have some sort of frustration growing inside of me, right? All frustration is born from unmet expectations.
Interesting.
And those expectations don't have to be communicated verbally. Sometimes it's growing up, my parents, they always had a cake on my birthday. And so if I don't have a cake on my birthday, that's an unmet expectation, but maybe I never communicated that to my significant other, right? And my wife and I, we've been together 10 years now. Like
You know that.
I fully expect she knows the
No
expectations of what.
excuses to have.
Yeah, no excuses. But to address the question of scope creep, sometimes you have scope creep because you're actually proactively doing some of those things, trying to be that valuable partner, that good partner to them, right? Where it's like sometimes on a call, you might start to mention like one thing that's come up with one of my clients is, helping them with their CRM. A lot of clients, they don't know really how to optimize and work well with the CRM and integrate that well with their advertising system. And I know how to do that. And so sometimes I'll talk to them about that. But then sometimes they're like, hey, do you know how to do this as well? Like I'm having issues with that and this other thing and all these other things. And it's like, I kind of created that expectation because I did help them with their CRM at one point. Right. And so I think it's something that you need to be very cognizant of am I setting an expectation through my actions? right? Or did I very clearly communicate at the beginning of our relationship what the expectations are for this relationship? Because sometimes agencies have these other services that are just in their contract. Maybe they had that at their last agency. In your contract with this client, they might not have that, but they have that expectation because of what happened in the past. So I think communication solves majority of problems with client and agency relationships.
That's great. I absolutely love that. So, how would you handle a client that just wants just that one more thing? I just want that other thing as well. Because you want to, like, I'll elaborate. Because you don't want to be a yes man, but at the same time, you want to over deliver if possible, so the client is happy. The retention rate is there, but at the same time, you don't want to say yes too much.
Yeah, again, I think just opening up that like what is your concern with it? Just verbalize that, right? If it's one thing, one frame of mind that I have on this is like, is this essential to them getting results, to my service being delivered well? And is it going to be a one-time thing or is it going to be a recurring thing? Right? If it's that one thing, but I can see that it's a one-time, what I would say a consumable action, right? This is going to have to be something that's going to be done over and over again. Then maybe that's a good time to bring up like, hey, we can add that into your service. This first one we can do for free just to prove to you that we can do it well. But if you want to do it, if you want us to do it ongoing for you, this is what that's going to look like, right? If it's just this one-time thing and it's pretty important that we get this right in order for me to actually give them good results, I may just do it for free and just say, hey, like you've been a great client. I want to be very clear again. This isn't a part of what we agreed to, but I'm happy to do that because I know that it's mission critical for us to actually give you good results. But if this comes up again, then we'll have to make sure we add that into it because that's going to add on recurring costs to us, right? So just
So, yeah, no,
face the
that's good.
conversation.
Yeah, no, I think it's important to have that conversation at the beginning rather than saying yes too much and then you're not able to deliver on the basic things that you agreed on because you're focusing on the other bits. So I think you're absolutely right there. Clear communication from the beginning.
Yeah.
So right now you post around 3 times a week on LinkedIn and you start conversations with prospects. So what would you say this is working well right now?
Yes. On LinkedIn, that's basically been my marketing strategy for the last year and a half, which is about the time I've been running the agency. What's interesting about it is I think I've only signed one client specifically from like a cold DM. Like I connected with this person, sent them a message, and they converted into a client. So in that regard, the ROI hasn't been fantastic for the amount of work I've put in. But yes, I do post 3 times a week on LinkedIn. I do try and kick up conversations. I do try and connect with 20 to 30 people a day that would be an ideal ICP client. And I think that the combination of that has grown my business quite a bit, not because of, again, the direct outreach and things like that, but because these people see me, they build trust with me over time. I'm also not trying to hard sell and hard pitch anybody. I don't want to like lose trust with people right off the bat, but they see the content that I post. They see the ideas that I have. And I am positioning myself as like, there's so many marketers out there that I do lead gen and e-commerce. I can do it all, right? I do ads and I do SEO and I do all this other thing. Like, no, I don't do that. I'm lead generation. A lot of times I focus on B2B and SaaS. I do home services as well, but people know that now. And so, especially in this community in Utah that I've built, there's so many people that are fragmented and doing all these things. But then as soon as somebody mentions, I need lead generation advertising, that's Kyle. And so posting regularly has kept me top of mind. And as the need naturally comes up, I get referrals. And so that's been the big benefit of LinkedIn for me.
Incredible. So we briefly touched point on you building a VSL currently and testing some ads. Have you previously done it as well, or is this a new kind of strategy you're hoping is going to be the one?
Yeah, I did one VSL pretty early on in my business,
Mhm.
but I didn't do it super well.
It's all trial and error, isn't it? At the end of the day, you've got to
it
test.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you learn, you grow, you get better. I think it was good, and it provided some really good context for people coming to my site and things like that. This new VSL, I feel like, is much better, and I paid for a professional editor. It has some good animation to it. It has a lot more to it, right? And yeah, I have this VSL. I have this new funnel that I've spent a lot of time building, and we'll see how it performs. I'm very excited to test this. Again, kind of going back to my thing. I've had this website for a long time, but kind of just getting back to basics. I just need a landing page. So most of my traffic now is going to go to that landing page, and I think it'll convert at a much higher rate. Also because it's a lot more clear in terms of what I do and why I do it differently, which I don't think we've touched on much
Mhm.
yet. What makes my service different than most, and there's some stats out there on this, is 95% of small and medium-sized advertisers, they don't have this offline conversion tracking from their CRM and how leads are progressing in their sales process that informs their ad strategy inside of Google, inside of Meta, right? And 80% of enterprise businesses don't have that set up as well. And so what do I mean by that? Most advertisers want phone calls and leads, right? That's not what we're optimizing towards. We're optimizing towards the next step of, is that a qualified phone call? Did they book an appointment? Are they a qualified lead? Are they a sales qualified lead? Did they get to the opportunity stage? We're putting all of that data back into the ad platform, and then we're not optimizing towards any lead because a lot of those are spam, low quality, like whatever that is. We don't want more of that. We want more of these qualified leads. And so that's what this funnel and this VSL speak a lot more clearly about. And I think that a lot of people don't understand this point yet, but it's a very important nuance because if you don't have this set up, you're never going to achieve top tier results.
Are you happy for us to link the VSL below the podcast?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Awesome, great. Now we'll do that. So you mentioned a short YouTube video you're making, how to audit a Google Ads account. So in the 20 minutes, what will people learn?
Yeah, so this video is specific. It's meant for the marketing manager, the director, VP of marketing, or the owner, right? Somebody in the leadership role in the marketing department that has somebody managing ads for them, right? Most of the time that might be an agency, it might be an employee, whoever it is. I want to empower that owner or that leader, the marketing leader, to be able to go into the ad platform and have, with this 20-minute video, have a basic understanding of how the ad platform works and what does good look like, right? Here's 5 or however many key metrics of go look here. What's it show you? Are you seeing this? Yes, no. What's your ad scores? What's your quality scores? What's your impression? Like all of these different things are, really important to a well-structured account. And so I'm basically just trying to arm this marketing leader of, I'm paying this person to manage this. How can I tell if they're doing it well or not? And that's what they'll learn.
Yeah, we'll definitely link that below as well, just so if people were curious, they can check it out. So, what's one check any business owner can do today to see if their ads are on track?
Hmm.
I'm sure it's not just one, but maybe something they can do right now. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that come to my mind with that question. I think one thing, because like most things in marketing, the right answer is it depends, right? But you can work out your marketing math. And this is one thing that I've talked to a lot of my clients recently about. I have a number of clients that we do fulfillment services with, but I also have a number of coaching clients, and we just talk, and they're trying to learn this internally, whether that's with an employee or with themselves. And so I would urge anybody to know your marketing math. How much are we paying per lead? How often are those leads converting into a sale? Off of those sales, how much profit or at least contribution margin are we actually getting? Does that make sense? Because so many times I see marketers post on LinkedIn and it's like, we spent $1,000 and we generated $3,000 in revenue. Well, that's great, but you have a 20% profit margin on that $3,000. So really, you're only making $600, but you spent 1,000. You're not making a profit off that, right? And so that's what I urge people to do. How do you know if you're winning? Go through the marketing math. If you're below that, contribution margin to client acquisition cost, you're actually not winning, even though you have a 3-to-1 ROI on the face of it.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So if you could fix just one thing in the business right now that would unlock the most growth, what would it be
In my business,
in your business?
that's a good question.
Yeah.
There's two sides of it right now.
We touched a little bit on courses as well, didn't we? Potentially.
Yeah. Yeah. The biggest thing right now, like I have no doubt that I can get more clients if I did more marketing activities. What prevents me from doing more marketing activities is getting myself out of the fulfillment more. And so I think that right now it's more of a staffing problem that would help grow my business the most. Where if I can get myself out of the fulfillment more and work more on the business and in the business, I think that'll unlock the most growth, maybe not in the short term, but over the medium to long term,
That
the
should be the
fastest.
focus anyway, isn't it? The long term.
Yeah, exactly. And then the quick follow-up to that is I need to reinvest that time that I get back into the marketing activities. And you touch on the courses. Yeah, I have thought about, I've been doing these consulting calls with all these clients, and I have this YouTube video that I want to come out really, really soon. That's how to audit your own account. That started as a course, started as 2 hours, but I want to condense it down to 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But I have been repeating the same things over and over to all of these coaching clients. And so I think if I can get a lot of that core knowledge and experience into a course, that could be a really good way for people to really get into it and learn this paid ads at an expert level, but also could be a really good way that people can get to know my business and my level of experience with this advertising and maybe be a lead generation tool as well.
Okay. And if people wanted to connect with you, Kyle, where could they find you?
I think the best place is LinkedIn. Like I said, I'm pretty active on there. Pretty much every day I'm checking that.
Yeah. Okay. No, thank you very much, Kyle, for this podcast. It's been a pleasure to have you on.
Perfect. Thanks so much.